Welcome back to the Unstuck Movement. I'm your host, Rob Z. This platform features amazing people who have true testimonies of breakthrough for your life and for your business. Today, we have the incredible Maggie van Galen with us on the podcast, and I'm really excited about this conversation. This is going to give us a lot of value for our business and how to tell great stories in our lives. And when it comes to content creation, I think everybody out there who is in the online space is always working and tweaking how to make better content. And I think, especially for myself, I want to make sure I'm as authentic as possible in the things that I put out there. So, Maggie, my question to you is, what is the secret sauce behind the art of authentic content creation?
Well, first of all, Rob, thank you for having me. This is awesome. I love the title of your podcast. I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So the secret sauce, I think, lies in the question is being authentic. So being true to yourself, being true to your business and what you represent, and keeping it short. So whether you have somebody that writes for you, like me, or you write for yourself, even if you use AI, which I cringe a little bit at, make sure that you're looking at it and it's really representing who you are and what you offer and what your clients are expecting from you. So that's my secret sauce. And
So
with an
you just
added sprinkle of please keep it short.
so don't lie and keep it short.
Exactly.
It's almost, yeah, it's like the whole catfish concept. You know, you don't want to catfish somebody and they're all excited about who you are, and then they get to actually meet you and they're like, oh, you're not the person that you said you were at all. What a
Right.
great disappointment. It
Yes.
sounds great going in, but terrible once you actually figure out the secret. So yeah, this platform, the Unstuck Movement, right? It's was created for our business and our life to be able to find the breakthroughs that we need to have to break the chains that have been holding us back. So it's brought to you by the Connected Leaders Academy. The Connected Leaders Academy is a platform of over 400 amazing entrepreneurs from all over the world who are heart-centered servant leaders who want to help each other grow. Check out connectedleadersacademy.com for more information. And also, as a quick reminder, if you're ready to become the go-to authority in your industry, if you want to make the impact that you know you're able to make in people's lives, and you want to live from the level of value that you know you have to offer, what I want to do is I want to offer you an opportunity to do that through creating your own platform, through creating your own podcast that brands you, brands what you do, and also connects you to incredible people. Right now, you can go to robzwentz.com and join the waitlist for the Pro Podcaster Academy. I'd love to have you there. It's robzwentz.com. This is Maggie van Galen. So Maggie is an award-winning children's book author and professional copywriter. She uses storytelling to connect her passion for writing with her clients' needs. And I'm really excited to talk to you because I love the art of storytelling. Everything in life, if it's told through story form, we receive it much better, we process it much better, and we learn so well through storytelling. How did this end up being your arena, especially writing children's books, making an impact in children's lives? How did you end up at this spot in your life, and how do you feel you best serve the people that you work with?
Yeah, thank you. It, so I've been writing since I could hold a pen, literally. I have always written. Through high school, I wrote, deep, dark poetry to deal with my high school girl stuff. I went to college for journalism, ended up in advertising with creative writing, um, and went into the corporate world, sort of writing. Back in those days, we didn't have email or texting or LinkedIn or any of that stuff. So it was literally writing letters and sales proposals and, business documents. Um, so I've always been writing. And the storytelling piece I think comes a lot from my father. So when I grew up, my dad used to tell me amazing stories, bedtime stories, and he was a phenomenal raconteur and would literally you would just fully embrace yourself into his stories. go to his locations. You were one of the characters. And I always remember like how engaging it was, and how, they were all these adventurous stories and that type of thing. And when my oldest son was born, who's now 20, almost 22, which is scary, um, I my dad used to tell me these stories about Kino and Ernest. And Kino's a very silly little monkey. Ernest is a little elephant. They're best friends in the jungle. Ernest gets in trouble. Kino gets him out. He learns some lessons along the way. And but he never wrote any of them down. So when my son was born, I remember the characters, but I couldn't really remember the plot line. So I decided to make up my own stories around them, and I would tell the stories to him every night. We would, whatever. It was fun. And when he went to preschool, they had the bring your parent in and talk about what you do day, like professional day, whatever. And the firefighters and nurses and doctors, everybody would come in. And he said, Mom, you have to come in and you have to talk about your story, because you're a storyteller and that's what you do. And you're the best. And I was like, heart through the knife, like, okay. So I did. I went in. I didn't have anything written down. I'm not an artist at all. Like, stick figures are the extent of my artistic ability. And I told one of the stories to the kids, and they were all, 3 years old, 4 years old. And the teacher said to me afterwards, she said, "This is amazing. You have to get this published. Like, there's teachable moments in it, and it's a great storyline." And, the kids were all engaged, and you have to do this. And I thought, not a chance. I had another one in diapers. I had no light at the end of my tunnel, because you have a small child. But I would go in every year and I would tell the story. And if I had another one, I would tell the other ones. And the kids loved it and the teachers loved it. And finally, when my youngest was in kindergarten and I had that sort of, few hours a day to myself, the teacher said to me, you should get this published. And I thought, you know what, if nothing else, I'll leave a legacy for my kids that my dad wasn't able to leave for me. And so I decided to get it published with no other goal in mind than to see my words in print. I was introduced to somebody that was an artist, and to see the words come to life in art was like mind-blowing. And I published the first book, which is the Kino and Ernest, The Banana Tree. Of course, because I'm a mom, I had to add some morals and some life lessons to the story. And that's kind of how I got from writing to published book author. What happened, which I didn't really expect to happen, is that through this, it started with the support of like the community and my local schools and that type of thing. It kind of took off in terms of like sales. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is pretty spiffy, I'm still pinching myself a little bit. But then I published 3 other stories within the Kino and Ernest series. And I decided to submit them to the Mom's Choice Awards. For your listeners that don't know, the Mom's Choice Awards is an internationally acclaimed awards group that looks at all family-friendly media products and services. So not just books, but anything related to that. But they have this panel of judges that are like, really know what they're talking about, and very unbiased. So it's lovely that friends and family bought my book, but to have people that don't know me and don't really care about me look at my work and go, this is pretty good. And all 3 books in that series won the Mom's Choice Award. So I was like, okay, this is like maybe bigger than what I thought it was. So, and I was a stay-at-home mom. I was fortunate to be able to do that. So I sort of, and the work itself like was fun. I really enjoyed it. It incorporated my writing. It incorporated my kids. I got to go in and do school readings. So it was just like the timing was perfect, and it was a lot of fun. Still even to this day, I'm pinching myself that I like won the awards, and they've won some other accolades as well. And so that was how the sort of the Kino in Earnest book series got started. But at a certain age, because the morals that Kino in Earnest learn are based on the things that my kids went through. So at a certain age, those morals sort of age out of the bracket that I was reaching, or the age group that I was reaching. So I sort of stopped doing the books in terms of writing them, but still wanted to write and still wanted to write on my own terms. So I wrote for, I went back to my journalism roots, wrote for local papers. People started coming to me and asking me if I would, proof their work or help them with a writing project or read their marketing material, read their landing pages. And I thought to myself, you know what, this is something that I can turn into a business. So I did. So I basically added wordsmith to my title. And now I write, copy for all different kinds of businesses and partner with different agencies and stuff like that. And it's all related to words. It's all related to storytelling, whether I'm telling my story or your story. That's kind of how it all came together.
I love the fact that it came out of the stories that your dad would tell you, and being able to reshape and reform those for your own kids, and the fact that they had such an impact. It's interesting in life that sometimes the most unexpected things can happen, that we were kind of being called to the entire time. The fact that you went into school and you told these stories and they had such an amazing impact on the kids, that had to be an incredible feeling. Had to be incredible to know, okay, so this thing that I enjoy doing, right? Because I think for so many people, there's things they love to do in life, but they never think, oh, I'm going to make it something that I can actually make money with. And like you said, be pinching myself every day because I get to actually do this thing.
Right.
What would you encourage people to who maybe have something they really love to do, but they're like, that's just something I like to do. I'm never going to make money doing it. Did you feel that way? Was that kind of like in the back of your head of like, wow, this is fun, but it's not going to be my main thing? And what advice would you give to somebody who has that own feeling? They have that own feeling in their life towards those things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's happened to me. I mean, I went into college wanting to be a journalist. And somebody along the way said, you'll never make any money as a journalist. You need to change your major. So it started very young with like the perception of you have to succeed, you have to make money, you have to do all this stuff. So I sign all of my books, Rob, with always follow your dreams. I sign my email signature is that. Everything I sign is always follow your dreams. And the reason that I do that is because, and I say this to the kids as well, like if you have a dream, if you have a passion that you really want to follow, like it should always be there in your mind. The road to get there may not always be a straight one. There's bumps and detours, and if you live in Boston, potholes, and, all different kinds of things that are going to change the direction. But at the end of the day, like that's your sort of end goal. And I think that you should try to stick to it. And, it may morph a little bit over time, but yeah, that's my advice. I always, whether I'm talking to a group of business women or I'm talking to a group of fourth graders, my advice is to always follow your dreams.
It's good advice. It's hard to do, like you said, because it's not a straight path, and it's not going to look exactly how you think it's going to look. And you're gonna meet opposition because so many people have not followed their dreams, or they've kind of let those things go by, and they think it's going to be a waste of time for you to do it also. But also at the same time, if you find the right people, and I think this is why it's so important in life to make sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people, because the right people are going to encourage you. They might say it's not going to be easy, but you can do it. And you are living proof that you can do it. So I wanted to spend just a few minutes touching on that point, because that's a really important point. These things are possible. Do not let go of these dreams. But I do want to shift gears because I want to talk about marketing and using your creativity in marketing, and how can we, when we're putting ourselves out there, this could be in your own personal life or it could be in your professional life, because we are, whether you, if you, even if you don't have your own business, you're marketing yourself all the time, and being creative and using your creativity, letting that shine through is so important. I want to jump into, we're going to spend 1 minute shouting out the sponsor of the show. When we come back, though, I want to talk about the biggest challenge in balancing creativity and storytelling in marketing, and how we can nail that and get it right. We'll talk about that in 1 minute. Are you struggling to make consistent, valuable content for yourself? Do you want to have an efficient and effective way to create content that attracts the people that you want to connect with in life, the people you want to build relationships with in business? Do you want to be the go-to authority at what you do, at what you're great at? Would it be helpful for you if you had a platform that connects you to incredible people in your industry? The kind of platform that gets you leads and lands you clients without you having to beat down anybody's door or blow up anybody's inbox. Whether you're already creating content or you're desiring to start and it's something that's been kind of burning inside of you for a while, I urge you and encourage you to check out the Pro Podcaster Academy. Get started right now. Join the waitlist at robzwentz.com.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world globally. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, join the Connected Leaders Academy today. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So, Maggie, balancing creativity in our life, mixing that with the marketing that we do in life, what is the biggest challenge in that area, and how can we find a sweet spot for that?
So I think we're all creative. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that say, I'm not a creative person. I can't come up with the words, but I think there's inspiration everywhere you look. I just did a post on this the other day. I went for a walk with my dog because my creative juices weren't flowing. And I thought, I'm going to take some pictures and just see what comes up. And I came across some really great things. So a couple days ago, I did a writing class for the brownie troop in my town, the local brownie troop. So like 9 and 10-year-old girls. And the whole theme was about paying it forward. And so I started my presentation with a picture I took, which my neighbor had, like, their garden had overflowed and there was tomatoes coming out of his ears. So he just put a bucket outside his house with a little sign that said free vegetables. And I thought, okay, that's a whole story, right? About paying it forward, about giving back, about helping strangers. Somebody could walk by and could be like, oh my God, I haven't eaten a fresh vegetable in forever. I'm going to take the whole bucket. There's a whole story there. Like 3 driveways on, there's my neighbor's RV is parked there, and she has little Cookie Monster Crocs stuck on the feet of the stairs that go into her RV. I'm like, oh my God, it's so cute, right? Like there's a whole story there. So I think creativity can come from anywhere. And the key is and from a business perspective, I think, is to, again, be authentic, like represent who you are and what your brand is, and draw people in with the words and the pictures if you're more on the photography or picture side of things, but tie the two together. Like, how does that all tie in? So like I use the tomatoes, the free vegetables in a intro piece to my paying it forward writing class to a group of 9 and 10-year-olds. I might use the Cookie Monster Crocs in my writing for social media workshop as a prompt. Like, how are you going to use this as a prompt to write for your business? So Be authentic with your creativity. Look around you for creativity. I think those are
That's and honestly, that might be like, oh, that's so simple. But honestly, that's creativity is not creativity, like you said, is everywhere.
yeah.
So I don't need to manufacture creativity. It's all around me. So I used to work in radio broadcasting, right? I hosted a morning show for many years. And that morning show was kind of like, it was kind of Seinfeld-ish in the sense that like it was a show about nothing because it was just lifestyle stuff. It was just things that happen in daily life and then bringing it up and making it a conversation topic.
Yeah.
And when you bring up something that's super relatable, everybody can relate to it because they're like, oh, that happens to me in my life.
Right.
So create, like you said, like those things are everywhere. You have to be paying attention. So I love how you said that because it's not about like, am I creative or are things creative? No, it's literally everywhere, but you've got to be in the right frame of mind and mindset to be looking for it. And you have to be aware and spotting it wherever it is. So that's really cool. And I think this too, like you said about creativity, people will say they're not creative. We get creativity like beaten out of us in life is what happens, right? People don't like, adults shouldn't be creative. You know, we have to go to work and we're boring, which is like when I get around a group of people, I like to hang out with kids a lot of time because they're the ones having fun. Or I want to hang around some adults who are being creative and just like to talk about different things or like to enjoy life and look at maybe the more absurd things in life or get into, you know, talking about deeper subjects because there's so much depth to everything if we look for it. Just like there's so much creativity in everything if we look for it. So I really think that's true. And how do you get creative with your business? Like our businesses can be very unique and interesting, but we have to look at them that way. And we as people are very interesting and very deep if we look at ourselves that way. How do you decide if a story idea is worth pursuing? How do you decide if something creative is worth pursuing, like the tomatoes in the bucket or the Cookie Monster Crocs on the RV? How do you make that decision of like, oh, this is something I should go after, or it's maybe not something that it seemed like a good idea, but maybe it's not?
So I think I think people buy from people, right? From a business perspective. So if you can put yourself in the shoes of who's buying your whatever, your widget, and ask yourself, what is it that they need, want, desire, and how can I provide that to them in a trustworthy way that represents my brand so they trust that if they actually buy that product from me, that's what they're going to get. And then you craft your message around that promise.
Mm-hmm.
I think you will win every time. That's the way I look at it. So for example, I have a client who I tend to, my sweet spot in terms of who I work with tend to be people that have a lot to say, but don't always say it very well. So if you think lawyers, accountants, doctors, medical professionals, they have a wealth of knowledge in their head, but they often speak in their own language as if they're talking to somebody in their field, right? So I'll give you an example. I have a client who's an estate planning attorney. I don't need to know what the Massachusetts state laws on estate planning are, right? But I am a middle-aged person with a mortgage and kids and a husband. I need an estate plan. So I am the client. I want to know what happens if something happens to me and I don't have one. I want to know what happens if I have a vacation house in Florida, but I live in Massachusetts. Like, how does, I want to know those things. So that's what your messaging should be about.
So when you work with somebody like that, what does that process look like?
So
because that's interesting because that person's so far outside of children's book author, right? Like
it goes back to the storytelling, right?
Yeah.
It goes back to the storytelling. Yeah, I mean, my process is pretty simple. I'm pretty old school, so I'm all about the connection with people. It's a discovery call where I'm talking with you. I'm diving a little deeper into what you want your brand to look like, what messaging, what sort of theme of messaging do you want? Do you want to be uber professional? Do you want to be kind of casual? Do you want to, how do you want to talk to your customers? And then I do some stalking. I look at your website, your social media, your, wherever you send me, read your newsletters, just to get a better sense of who you are. And then from there, we start crafting messages. So for example, if it's for social media, I'll come up with maybe 10 posts. You're going to look at them and say, yeah, this is great. This is right on, or this is good, but I want to promote this month's, product, or this month's special, or whatever the case may be. And then we go from there. But it always starts with a discovery and a bit of stalking, friendly stalking, I will say.
I would imagine it would be really interesting to see the creativity be brought out of somebody, like you said, who's in maybe what we would perceive as a boring profession, like maybe accounting or something like that. Somebody who, like you said, is maybe not really, they're not very good at getting their thoughts out of their head effectively through their mouth, right? They have such a wealth of knowledge, but they're not good at articulating those things or presenting them in a creative way. It has to be really fun to see the breakthroughs when you create these things with them, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I mean, I love doing it, especially like you say, for the maybe not so exciting professions and businesses that are out there, because they're all services that people need, and creative doesn't have to be like, super exciting, like, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter creative in terms of writing for your business. Creative is using words to convey your message in a way that your audience will relate with. That's all it means, really. And using, you know, different words or simple words or easier words. And you talked about talking with kids. I always tell people, write as if you're writing to like a fourth or fifth grader, not because your audience is unintelligent, but because it forces you to be very clear and very simple with your message.
Yeah, that's a really good advice, and that's something that I use Chat GPT for a lot. When I'm creating something in there, I'll say, "Write this like you're writing to a fifth grader," or use a fifth grade writing level or whatever that might be, because especially if you are a wordsmith, I would imagine, because I wouldn't say I'm a wordsmith, but I definitely have used words as my career for my entire life,
Yep.
and you want to sound important, you want to sound smart, you want to sound like you're better at doing this than other people, so you choose bigger words or you say things in more intricate sort of ways to seem impressive, when that actually doesn't work. That's actually the opposite of how you
Yes.
should do things. When did you figure that out? Because some people never figure that piece to the puzzle out.
Yeah, very, very early on. I mean, journalism 101 in college is, make sure whoever you're talking about, their name is spelled right, and keep your message simple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so, I think it's also a bit of how I grew up. Like I really don't care where your background is or where you're from or how much you know or how much you earn. If you're a good person, then I want to hang out with you. So if you're a good person, you don't need to like exaggerate your words. You don't need to use a lot of anyone that's ever, I do a lot of editing and proofreading as well. And anyone that's ever had me edit their stuff, they know that I'm not a huge fan of adverbs. So if there's anything that ends with ly in your story, I'm likely going to cut it out, because it doesn't add to the ultimate message, right? And people read the way, if you think about the way people look at social media, or they look at your newsletter, or they look at blog posts, they read it very much like how we read newspapers. So you pick up a newspaper, you look at the headline. Is it interesting? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You read the first paragraph. If you're still interested, you may read more. Very unlikely that people get all the way to the end of the article. And that's kind of how we're taught to write journalistically, right? Is like a reverse funnel. So your most important facts are at the top and any supporting stuff is at the bottom. It's the same way when you're writing for your business. What's the ultimate thing that you want to get across should be very high up at the top. Everything else is like can go at the bottom. So that first message is the most important thing.
That's great advice. And keep it the old KISS method, which I like to say, keep it stupid simple. I don't like to say keep it simple stupid because I feel like I'm calling somebody stupid. So
I call it keep it simple and short.
Oh, there you go. That's even better. I like that. Yeah, keeping it short. And this is something I talk about all the time because being precise in your communication is so important. And being precise is saying all the things that need to be said in the smallest and shortest amount of words. If you can do that, you can really effectively communicate and really get a message across in a powerful way. And the best communicators, that's how they communicate. I really think that's so valuable. And something I did want to touch on you with, because I did mention ChatGPT and AI. I wanted to know about how do you view AI influencing the world that you work in? Is it a positive? Is it a negative? Should people lean on it? Do you lean on it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this is a whole podcast in itself, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I have mixed emotions, but basically I think AI is not going away. So I think you can either stick your head in the sand or you can learn about it and learn its pros and cons, which I've done. I've taken some courses because it is affecting my industry a lot. It affects a lot of industries, but I think it is a tool. I think it's a useful tool that people can use. I do use it for just as a tool. So I may say, because I'm not a lawyer. So I'll go back to my lawyer example. What are the top 5 concerns that you have when making an estate plan? So I'll come up, it gives me 5 concerns. Then from there, I can craft messaging around those concerns. So I'll use it as a tool. It's great for summarizing. If have a huge speech or you have a book and you for some of the authors that I work with, you need to provide a chapter summary. So you dump the whole chapter in and say, give me a 1-paragraph summary. Great. I will say that you should always edit anything that comes out of ChatGPT. Especially if you use the free version of ChatGPT, it only grabs data from up to April of 2021, from what I understand. So if you are in an industry that needs the latest and greatest information, you need to double check some of the facts and figures that you're getting back. ChatGPT, in terms of writing for you, it is very repetitive. So if it likes to repeat exactly what it said in just using different language.
I feel like it tries to sound smart. It
tries to sound smart. It's not a huge fan of commas, I've noticed, and it does love adverbs. So likes the fluffy language.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of fluff. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, I think it's a tool. I think we will probably start to see more regulation over the course of time with AI. And especially in different industries, but it's not going to go away. So we just need to figure out how to use it to the best of our abilities.
Yes, how to use it and not let it use you, and how to have it leverage and benefit the industry that you're in and not let it ruin the industry that you're in. And I think you approach that. It sounds like you're approaching it in the right way. I've always used it. I use it for brainstorming. I can skip hours of brainstorming by using it, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
And it helps us to get more done with less, which is a very much a net positive. So I I love what you do, and I love the fact that you were able to take something that you were so passionate about, create children's books that helped kids, but then also parlay that into helping other industries and industries that you wouldn't normally think a children's story author would be able to help in those industries and help people craft messages that are really powerful for them. I love that, because if there's one thing we need in this life, we need to be able to communicate better and know how to communicate our message better. And I'm not just talking business, I'm talking personal. We if you want to be a leader of your life, if you want to find breakthrough in your life, you have to be able to communicate effectively. So have you found this also helpful in your personal life?
Yeah, although I think my family and friends would probably argue that I've always been a fairly decent communicator. I've always been very creative. In my personal life, I don't, and in my editing and proofreading, I will say I don't tend to have a filter when it comes to telling you what I think of your writing, or your not about your writing, but about the words on the page. So, and it's one of those, like with my kids, and they're like, "Oh, can you read my whatever paper?" I'm one of those people, like, as if you're a math genius and somebody says, "Can you tell me what time it is?" and they teach you how to build a clock. Somebody asked me, like, "Can you edit my paper?" and I'm like, "I can,
You're
but
like, what a mistake this was.
I'm gonna be honest." So, but yeah, I mean, it's always been good to continue learning new things and to figure out different ways of creating, writing, from a business perspective and from a personal perspective.
Yeah, I love it. It's an amazing skill to have. I'm sure you're very valued with your friends and with your family. If people want to find out more about you, where's the best place to go for them to find out information?
Probably my website, I would say, which is maggievangalen.com. You can contact me there. You can see everything about my books and my writing services.
As they go to the website, is there a certain place they should go to reach out to you? Is there a contact form? What can they do?
Yep, there's a contact form, or they can also just send me an email, which is maggie@maggievangalen.com. Love to talk to anyone, whether it be about your writing services. I will say that from the books perspective, which is kind of the passion side of my life, I try to use that in the giving back perspective. So I'm doing a lot of really fun things with the books these days. I'm partnering with Canines for Disabled Kids, starting November 1st through May 1st, and 15% of all book proceeds will go back to that. I'm also partnering with a group out of Colorado called the Community of Paying It Forward for a holiday piece. And so, all of that information is on the website, or you can email me or follow me on my social media or wherever.
Very cool. I love what you do. It's amazing how you've parlayed into so many different things in your life. So I just want to congratulate you on that and finding the breakthrough for yourself and for others. Anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
Just remember to always follow your dreams. That is the key. But thank you.
Good advice. This has been the Unstuck Movement. We'll see you next time.